Earth is flat. End of story. Year 1871, where George Biddle used a telescope which is filled with water, an intended method to slow the light of stars, just to confirm Earth's movement. And the result was stars move and Earth doesn't. It is stationary. So if Earth is flat, how do they come up with Google Earth? By just using satellites, Google drones, and cars. If you are to pour a bucket of water of these two model Earth, which one will contain the water and which surface will seek a level horizontal equilibrium? Is it A or B? 7 heavens, 7 layers, and 7 color of the rainbow. So why do you think NASA call its project Operation Fishbowl if it's a globe? Globe, it doesn't make sense because this is how Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. Our aircraft fly over a flat, non-rotating Earth. It is a closed dynamic system, and no, you cannot go out from it. That's the reason why we have a collection of water, to evaporation, to condensation, up until precipitation. It is a cycle because we are in a dynamic, closed system. I don't believe you because gravity is real, and it's stated by all the scientists. You mean con artist scientists that can't even explain gravity, can pull down apples and microphones of Neil deGrasse, but not pound clouds of water. Come on. You see this compass here? Looks like a foam of a bra, meant and works only on a flat boobs. Sorry, Earth. This is an actual flight from a globe Earth comparing to the flat Earth. Now, does it make sense to you? And if not, then this is NASA's outer space. How our time zones works on a flat plane Earth. All flat earthers already know that our sun is local and close. So more on, we describe it as a spotlight, a local light that doesn't light up the whole circle. And you can actually see it by the rays of our sun. It can be seen through clouds and also at the beach, or we describe it as a torch. Our sun travels on a circuit above flat Earth in 24 hours. So each hour equals to one time zone. The hour hand is the sun on its circuit. Our stars count the years, the moon counts the months, our sun counts the hours of the day. We have 24 time zones around North Pole. The more you go to its longitude, the numbers expands of distance. So there are probably 38 time zones. That's why sea cables from Australia to South America and even Africa will never be shown on a globe Earth because of the distance of the tree. Wonder why is that? If you understand that the sun is local and small, rotating like a torch, and our Earth is stationary, time zones will eventually make sense to you, better on a flat plane surface. But if you think you are wobbling on a ball, and the sun rotates too, time zones will be out of line and leave the south just waves of light and no time. The sundial obviously show you the time rotation by the position of the shadow that are exposed to our sun rays. If the sun is so huge and not local, why do we see sun rays like street lights? Isn't it concerning? This is also how our season works on a flat plane Earth. The equinox and its solstices. This is the spring sun rotation, the summer sun rotation, fall sun rotation, and the winter sun rotation. Again, the sun is local and small, not the other way around. You will never understand the time zone on a flat Earth if you don't have any idea what is flat Earth. Before even knowing time zones, start with what is flat Earth, because you cannot think of a main course if you all know is salad. Let's talk about celestial navigation, or how celestial navigation works. Every star in our flat celestial plane has a position relating to our flat plane Earth. Well, it will be 90 degrees, and that is what we call the geographical position. When we, for example, as an observer, is at the geographical position of the star, it always appears 90 degrees above our head, and it all works using a sextant to measure the exact angle of the star and using its relative geographical position just to know where you are located. Again, measuring angles only works on a flat plane Earth. So if there is another observer on the other side, measures 30 degrees exactly to a star, and same with the another side, 30 degrees. So therefore, I conclude that both sides are on what we called a circle of equal altitude. Everything on that circle of equal altitude is exactly that measure. Wherever you are in that circle, you will measure 30 degrees, but is even relative to our horizon. So it's absolutely flat and level. Again, celestial navigation only works on a flat, plain Earth. Let's talk about Coriolis effect. It is a natural phenomena that differ when you are in a different hemisphere. The farther you are in the equator, the faster the rotation is. The closer you are in the equator, the slow it goes. Coriolis effect is not the spinning of the Earth. It is an effect on which our local sun, on that ether, is circulating. When our local sun passes through our atmosphere, it always affects on our ether, sending swires of solar energy waves out. And no, it's not a measure of Earth's spin. It is a measure of our ether spin. So when you watch any news during any hurricane or even typhoons, you will see spinning or big storm spins, especially over time as it travels. When you are in northern hemisphere, the spin rotation is counterclockwise. When you are in southern hemisphere, its spinning is clockwise. Storms spins in different direction depending on its location. The storm's rotation is what we call the Coriolis effect that causes fluids, water, and air to curve as they travel, especially across or above ether. On a flat Earth model, the sun spinning constantly around its own axis, depending which season sun is in. Now, since Earth is flat, it is wider on the round far distance than the points around the poles. So the center of every hurricane is an area with a very low pressure. The higher pressure air surrounding, especially the center of what we call the eye of the storm, is then rushing towards the low pressure, especially the void in the middle. The rotation of our local sun causes currents in our ocean to flow in a circular motion, which help distribute heat around to regulate our climate. It doesn't make sense on a globe Earth. It only works in a flat plane surface. Let's use airplane as an example. An airplane can only land safely on a runway that is stationary. The airplane's orientation and motion is always along its landing path. So when the runway is moving, as you said, we are wobbling at a different angle or a different speed, all the planes will crash on the ground. How solar eclipses works in a flat Earth. Solar and lunar eclipses is a phenomenon that is celestial, involving luminaries and their regular interactions. Solar eclipses occur during new moon phase, in the crossing point of the ecliptic, which always aligns with our local sun. This happens minimum 4 times per solar year, depending on its exact altitude, even with your specific location of hemisphere. Sometimes produce the partial, the annular, and the total eclipses. It's impossible that it is an Earth shadow, because on this video, the shadow takes turns. Does Earth take turns too? The Earth ball cannot do the right turn. The sun and moon rotates like a clock within our firmament, and that's with different cycle throughout the year. During solar eclipses, new moon conjunction directly crosses the sun. That will show you the blackout effect. During lunar eclipses, our full moon's opposition of the sun causes the shadow red tint. The darkening area of the moon is the Earth shadow, and why the shadow appearing on the other side? And if the sun being blocked by the curvature of the Earth, shadow should have been on the lower part, right? And the light from sun or the lit part of our moon should have been at the top. I mean, make it make sense with a globe. And this is what we call the selenial eclipse. Impossible in the globe Earth, and only works well with a flat Earth. You sure the moon that is 2,000 miles wide only casting a 70-mile shadow, especially on that particular area, and moon casting smaller shadow on Earth. When you have a flashlight at your home, I'm sure you have, play it around with your shadow on the wall. I mean, if that makes sense to you. I mean, no one wants to put time conceptualizing everything or just spend time learning and gaining something like we just follow the norm. It's not fun. During a total eclipse, we observed a blackout effect, especially over the sun. Is it possible that we are looking a separate celestial body, like the black sun, for example? This local sun emits light, and the black sun emits darkness. Earth is flat, stationary, with three celestial body intact, which is the sun and moon, two light given by God to us, and along with its stars, to determine time, year, and months. This photo is a global war strategy map of 1943 during the World War II. A map out distances from city to city of the entire Earth, and actual air routes during the World War II, and the only routes that actually works up till today. Those long flights that you had jet lags on are not it. I mean, do you believe the creator or do you believe its creation? Always remember, our knowledge is limited. Our creator's knowledge is infinite. Assalamu alaikum. Let's talk about comets or shooting stars. Comets or shooting stars, with all other transits celestial, are all perceived as incendiary combustion that is induced by fumes, which always intermingling with pyrodynamics, usually of our electromagnetic atmosphere, that is all generated by the black sun. Now, fumes shine, ascend, and transverse through a various layers on our atmosphere, a fluorescent-like behavior, or what we call hydrodynamical synthesis of air and fire, and these are all influencing our ethereal processes that usually governs the behavior of the fumes. And the interaction of those elements is what the shooting stars are, a flash perturbation of a photonic light energy that lives and dies and regenerates, the same as anything else in this earth. And this is the concept of fume saturation, like fume descent and fume ignition, as these re-enter on our lower atmospheric region is all central of our understanding on that such events that are all visible mostly at night. And this combustion process is always analogous to the principle of friction. The interaction with these fumes with cooler temperatures or even cooler elemental compositions always leads to a creation of visible fire, or what we all call shooting stars. That shooting star you're actually seeing is an end result of a chemical reaction at a macrocosmic scale. And no, these are not explosions or black holes. It is a fumes after ascending through our atmospheric layers, and they will all reach to a point of saturation. So as they go down, these fumes or those fumes always undergo a transformative process, and that's due to a frictional interaction, especially with air elements. And these saturated fumes always ignite, producing flashes of light. Yeah, I know, we all look at this as entities in the heavens or a divine intelligence. And this process also happens while there is aurora borealis. Japan elevator to space cost about $7 billion. Isn't it too cheap for building a space elevator with a space city on top? The cost of putting a payload beyond geostationary orbit can be cut for hundreds of dollars per kilogram. There is a problem in which carbon nanotubes, as proposed as an ideal material due to its high tensile strength. What about the feasibility of translating the nanoscale into a megastructures? Even the moon landing was not possible with any known material. They should already done it with the moon landing if it was really that feasible. It's funny that people still believe it, believing that all the infrastructure is 36,000 kilometers made out of carbon nanotube cable. And this is something no one built, even just a single kilometer of it. A very thin carbon material entering the atmosphere at high velocity would likely burn up before it even goes up or down. The only obstacle I see in this is the manufacturing, because the space, as we know, it stays where it is, outside a geosynchronous orbit, and all held up by a centrifugal force. Let's say they have these nanotube carbons. Since it is a strong material, but without the ability to manufacture 36,000 kilometers of any cohesive cable, the space slingshot or elevator will be a pure fiction. What about the obstacle of how to avoid debris, or what we call orbital debris? these satellites, millions of satellites, these asteroids, as all of these people believe in a globe Earth. Isn't it concerning? They already struggled finding what real planets are, or even a star on a telescope. And you tell me this elevator would work and it will be ready on 2050? It's a long year, so no, I don't believe it. The mechanism also captures the sun and the moon by rendering their movements at any different relative speeds. The rotational motion of the stars always remain constant. That's why the perceived direction of our stellar rotation always dependent upon the observer's geographical location. The rotational movement of stars will always appear to differ. And the direction depends on which hemisphere you are in. So let's assume that the stars are terrestrial imprints. Then we can categorize Earth into two distinct regions. By the diameter of downward spiral that connects the motion of the black sun and even what's beyond it, anything which is in that inner region will all experience a redshift, the right turning centripetal, which is the convergence of the stellar motion, and that particularly towards the north. While the southern region always observes a left turning, which is what we call the blue shift, the centrifugal divergence motion. The moon, according to CNSA, is a rock, and according to NASA, it is a concrete. But in reality, moon is a cosmic plasma, because both rock and concrete doesn't reflect light, but plasma does. All of the moon landing that has been shown on TV, and sometimes people use it at school, are all CGI, with the same fake Earth picture from 1969. Crop that shit out and just copy paste. And that includes the outer space too. The Mars, the rocks, the planets, the satellite and rockets penetrating the firmament are all CGI, because all of them use the satellites and not outside space satellites. And that includes the Starlink of Elon. In short, your world that you know are photoshopped. A data visualizer and designer named Robert Simon says that he just re-edit the blue marble. They staged the moon landing on a studio and show you an astronaut flying over outer space with a 360 camera just to justify the curvature of the Earth. The ionosphere that we have is the ether that's 50 kilometer to 550 kilometer above Earth, usually composed of metallic amalgam and resonators, which are mostly gold covers. That includes antennas and copper coils. That is all under arcs and columns, with fractal design of our establishments. There's a purpose why ancient and old buildings look alike, like a tower with antennas on top, especially churches, temples, and even mosques, just to maintain the universal force, and all channel it down with the help of the magnetron, especially the ions of the magnetic field that interacts with a stream of microwave waves, usually to the resonator, in order to generate high-frequency signal. The coils are the electrical conductors. The archivolts are toroidal vortices. And the resonators, which is covered with copper, the columns, the arcs, are all coils, conducting the currents of positive and negative ions. As we know, music is a liquid architecture, or what we call frozen music, which are all cymatic frequency. And even some churches use bells for that, or just even a speaker for a calling of prayer is all sound vibration, or even channeling that what we call the human vowels. As we all know, above and below are all waters. When God says, "Let there be light," there was light, and all shone the stars this way. All are cymatics. Water with light looks exactly like this. Yes, this is the real photo of stars. It is mostly made out of sounds, since this is all patterns of vibrations. That's why any sound affects us and sometimes blend with our emotions. Because even the science of cymatics, they demonstrate that even a single tone can manifest conflicts, geometrics, and even structure in material realm. And all the water has its own memory. The Japanese scientist Dr. Masaru stated that the molecular structure of water can be altered with human intentions, and that includes our emotions. They come up with these experiments that using a certain words or even phrases of every droplets of water and then freezing them, there's a different crystalline structure. Our bodies are 60 to 70% water, meaning our thoughts can positively, negatively affect the entire system. That's why meditation is so important for everybody.
Don't waste any more time. Visit the links above now and order my book 16 Emergency Landings Proving Flat Earth. Visit my online store now and order the new enhanced Gleason's Flat Earth map. This map used to be in every school and library in the nation before NASA was created in 1958, when the maps were ordered removed. Have your Gleason's map hanging on the wall in your house where no government can take it down. Here you see it hanging on a wall in the house of the late Charles K. Johnson. Here is a quote from the book 1984 by George Orwell. Every record has been destroyed or falsified, every book rewritten, every picture has been repainted, every statue and street building has been renamed, every date has been altered, and the process is continuing day by day and minute by minute. History has stopped. Order your map now.